One of the best things about watching a new NBA season every season is seeing all of the new players that are able to break out in that specific season and really take a big jump in their game. And that's what I'm going to be doing in today's video, is predicting 7 players that I think are going to break out this upcoming season in 2022 and 23. The season is going to start in about a week, and you can see that a lot of guys are kind of standing out in preseason that haven't really stood out before. Some guys towards the end of last year were already starting to take a jump in their game. You see a lot of guys too that are going to get a bigger role this year because someone on their team left in free agency, got traded, or has an injury. And today I'm going to be analyzing 7 guys that really stand out to me and I think are going to break out this season. So let's get into the analysis. The first player that I think is going to break out this season is Brandon Clark, and I think this is either the second or third time that I've predicted Clark as a breakout player, and he's never really gotten the chance for that, but I definitely think this is the year after the promise he showed in the playoffs last year. I've really always liked his game. I feel like he's the perfect kind of role player and teammate that knows what his role is, fits perfectly into that role, and plays it every second that he's on the floor on both ends of the floor. So offensively, he's kind of your efficient role man who runs the pick and roll a lot, has a great touch and a great floater inside of the paint, and does a great job of cleaning the glass and getting offensive rebounds, and at sometimes stretching the floor, but mostly being kind of a smaller kind of 5-man. And then defensively, he's versatile, can guard multiple positions, and does a really good job of that and being versatile there too. But he's never really got a big opportunity. Last year, he only averaged less than 20 minutes per game, about 19.5 minutes per game in the regular season, but he still put up 10 points per game in those 20 minutes, about 5 rebounds per game, and shot 64% from the field. He's always been very efficient, and in the playoffs he got a bit more of an opportunity. There were multiple games where he put up 20 or more points, multiple games where he put up 10 or more rebounds. He was absolutely dominating the offensive glass in the playoffs last year, especially against the Timberwolves, and I think he showed a lot of promise there and is going to get more of an opportunity throughout this season, maybe more like 25 to 30 minutes hopefully, because he's really that good of a player. He fits into his role perfectly, and I can see if he does get that opportunity, him taking a big advantage of it, because he's really the perfect role player that fits in perfectly with his team's system as well. The next player I think is going to break out is Onyeka Okongwu from the Hawks, and I don't really have like a one kind of specific reason why he's going to get a bigger role. He just has loads of potential. So I mean, and I just think this is the time for him to do this. This is his 3rd year in the league, and his minutes per game increased by about 7 last year, and his points per game almost doubled, and he's really shown a lot of potential, especially on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, some people have compared him to Bam out of the bio, the way he's able to be a very effective rim protector and pick and roll defender, but then also be able to have the athleticism and the athletic gifts to just be able to guard on the perimeter as well and be a versatile defender. So I think defensively he's going to provide a lot from this team, and Clint Capella is still this team's defensive anchor, but he is getting up there a little bit in age. His minutes might decrease a little bit more this season, and if he has some injury problems, Onyeka is going to step in there and be their number 1 defensive anchor. And then offensively, he's always been a really good lob threat. Like I said, last year's points per game almost doubled from his rookie season. He averaged 8.2 points per game in about 20 minutes last season, but shot 69% from the field, so very efficient, and I think he's shown a lot of potential towards the end of last season, so he could get some more opportunities to get the ball himself in the post, run some more pick and rolls, especially kind of with that first unit with Trey Young and Dejante Murray. So I think, yes, his role will increase, and for many different reasons actually, not really just one specific one, and he just has loads of potential on both ends, and I think all that's going to unleash this season. The next player I think is going to absolutely explode this year and prove that he's getting up there with some of the elite in the NBA is Tyrese Halliburton, and he's really going to have the ability to be the number 1 option on the Pacers team this year. He got traded middle of last season from the Kings to the Pacers, and you could even argue that he broke out last season. Last year, of course, was his 2nd year in the league, and overall he averaged over 15 points per game, shooting over 40% from the field and about 41.5% from 3, which was very impressive. And then his playmaking and passing and IQ was getting up there with some of the elite in the NBA. I mean, last year, for the entirety of the season, he averaged over 8 assists per game, And not to mention that with the Pacers alone, he put up over 17 points per game and about 9.5 assists per game. Almost averaging a double-double with assists is absolutely insane. He had a game where he had 17 assists. His playmaking ability is off the charts. His court vision is getting up there with some of the elite in the NBA. He does a great job of driving into the paint, either running a pick and roll with his big man and finding the 5-man, or he kicks it out to the perimeter, find wide open threes because he has great gravity inside the paint. And overall, he just does a great job of finding guys, whether he's getting the secondary assist or the primary assist. He just is an amazing overall playmaker. And then his three-point shot has been so impressive. He can shoot that shot off of the dribble stepping back. He has kind of a weird type of jump shot form, but it's just absolutely working, especially last season. He can do it in the mid-range area, and the fact that he's about 6'5 or 6'6 at the point guard position, he's able to create some matchup or some mismatches against whoever is guarding him, and so far in his career he hasn't really done a great job of exploiting those because he's more of kind of a perimeter player, but he still does a good job finishing around the rim. And I think because he's the number one option on this team, he's going to realize that sometimes he needs to take matters into his own hands and go get a bucket down low, and I think he can really improve his post game this season and just also have that kind of height mismatch really be an advantage for him a little bit more this year. So overall, I think Tyrese is going to absolutely explode this year. He could average about 20, maybe 22 points per game and 10 assists per game, and he's just going to dominate on the Pacers. Next player I think is going to break out is Ayo Dosunmu of the Bulls, and this one is mostly just because he's going to get a huge role without Lonzo Ball for the vast majority of the season and maybe even the whole season. And we saw a lot of promise from Ayo last year, especially when Lonzo and a guy like Alex Caruso, for example, were out, and it really sucks for the Bulls that this is going to happen again because I think they could be an extremely good team fully healthy, but Dosunmu's really going to step into that role and do a great job. We saw a lot, like I said, a lot of flashes of potential last season from him. He's very good in transition. He's very athletic. He's an electric overall player that can do a great job of finishing around the rim and shooting that three ball. Last year, he was very efficient overall for a rookie, shooting 52% from the field and about 37.5% from three. And what stands out the most is his playmaking ability. When he is that number one option and that point guard on the floor, and when he's starting games and has that confidence to be that kind of main facilitator out there, he does a really good job of throwing dimes, finding the big man in the paint, driving and kicking, and kind of filling into the role that Lonzo Ball is supposed to play of the guy that gets 6 to 7 assists per game. And the stats really don't show that for Dosunmu because he only averaged about 3.5 assists per game last season in 77 games and about 27 minutes per game. But like I said, when he's in that role where he's almost playing Lonzo's role and being the main number one point guard, his assist numbers will definitely total up pretty quickly. And also, not to mention, he's a scrap defensively and gives a lot of effort on that side of the floor. So I think just because he's in a bigger role and he showed a lot of potential in some flashes last season, he's going to definitely break out this year as well. The next player I think is going to break out is Scotty Barnes, and you guys that watch my channel, you know I'm a Raptors fan. Scotty's definitely turned into one of, if not my favorite player in the league, and I pretty much dedicated a whole video not too long ago about why I think he's going to break out, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. If you want to see my analysis on that, go ahead and check out that video. I'll put as a card in the top right hand corner right now. But just to summarize, I mean, his interior scoring is insane. He's got Giannis comparisons because of it, and now that he's in his sophomore year and is going to have a bigger role with this team, and they realize just how good he is and how much potential he has after winning the Rookie of the Year, he's going to get more opportunities to dominate in the post. I expect his jump shot to improve a lot. He's been putting a lot of work into that in the offseason, and defensively he's just an absolute menace. And also, not to mention that big playmaking component of his game, we can see at times how he can be kind of like that point forward, be a really good playmaker and passer for his size, and almost kind of play the point guard position when he's about 6'9", 6'10". I think he had some opportunities to do that last season, but now that the Raptors know how good he is in that role, he's going to have more opportunities to play in that role and rack up those assist numbers as well, and be able to show that he's a really overall well-rounded basketball player. So I think he's going to absolutely explode this year as well. And again, make sure to check out that video about why I think he's going to break out in depth. Next player, I got Keldon Johnson, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about how this guy kind of broke out a little bit last year and averaged 17 points per game, and efficiently too, for a guy who's just kind of making his way into the league as well. He shot almost 47% from the field and about 40% from 3, and now that Dejante Murray's off of this team, he's basically going to be the number 1 option offensively. And we saw last year how he was mostly kind of a catch and shoot guy when he was on the perimeter, but he can create his own shot at times too, and I think he's going to develop that playmaking aspect of his game as well and start using his size to his advantage a little bit more and playing in the post. I don't think he's going to necessarily break out as much as some of the other guys I've had and that I've discussed today, because a lot of the time Dejante would actually be, because he's such a good playmaker, he would be able to set up Keldon and that would actually help him. But I think he's still going to be able to settle in this role of being the number 1 guy, because we saw him play it a little bit last season, and I think you could easily see Keldon Johnson average 20 points per game this season, while also doing his thing on the defensive end of the floor as well, just like he did last year. And last but not least, we've got Trey Murphy III on the Pelicans. His whole career, he's really been kind of a sharpshooter that shoots over 40% from 3, but last year he didn't really get an opportunity in his rookie season to showcase his full skill set, but he's really shown in the preseason this year that he definitely has a lot of potential, and not only just as a shooter, but also in general just as a very good off-ball player that knows where to go, when to cut, and can also get open not only just on the perimeter but also around the rim. He has a good floater, he can electrically finish around the rim, he's pretty athletic, and this fits perfectly with the team he has right now with the Pelicans, and with a guy like Zion, who can hopefully have a fully healthy year this year, who he's turning into a good playmaker. His gravity in the paint, attracting 2-3 guys at the time, is insane, so guess who's going to be wide open on the perimeter to shoot those threes and shoot over 40%? Trey Murphy. He's going to get a lot of opportunities for that. He's going to be able to cut to the basket a lot and get some easy dunks. He's going to be able to run out and transition, get some easy buckets there. And this doesn't apply with just Zion going to the paint and attracting attention. You've got Ingram, you've got CJ McCollum, who are also good playmakers, who last year both averaged over 5 assists per game. And now you've got Murphy, who just fits perfectly into this offensive system. He's going to light it up from 3, and like I said, his overall offensive game is pretty polished for his age. So I think he's going to break out this year as well, definitely compared to last year, where he didn't get as much of an opportunity as a rookie, but he's shown a lot of promise in the preseason, and they should give him that opportunity to ball out this year. So there you have it. Those are the 7 main players I think are going to break out this upcoming NBA season. Make sure you guys comment down below your thoughts on today's video and who you think is going to break out this season, and I'll see you all next video.